Hey guys, it's Mick here, owner over at Lincoln Select Real Estate Group at Nebraska Realty. And today I am talking about a hot topic here, and that is the recent National Association of Realtors settlement in regards to how commissions are paid. And so I want to start off with here, all of this is still pretty new. It's not even going to be taken in front of the courts still for a few months. So nothing is official. And we really just don't know how this is going to pan out. And in full transparency, it's going to be different from city to city, state to state, market to market on what the consumers decide to do. And so first and foremost, I wanted to hit some of the headlines we see out there. So I'm sure you guys have seen all those, the National Association of Realtors or the NAR, had a 6% commission standard out there. And honestly, guys, that is just the farthest from the truth. There's never been any sort of standard that us as real estate agents have had as far as commissions. It's always been negotiable. And if you've ever sold a home, you've sat at the table with a real estate agent, and I imagine you have discussed what those rates are going to look like and probably tried to negotiate those rates, and you probably did see some negotiations there. And so if you've sold a home, you know that rate negotiations as far as commissions have always been in play. And so that's the first thing. That is just unfactual. What was being litigated more so was how the compensation was being dispersed. And so what that means is historically sellers have paid their agent, and that agent then has taken part of their commission and paid the buyer's agent. And the seller had no way to determine what that looks like or had any say in that. And that's how their money was being spent. And so it kind of goes back to that. And so today I want to hit a couple things then that you as a consumer, as a buyer or seller, are going to need to be aware of, and that these things are going to be new to you. And so it's going to be different buying and selling a home after July of 2024 than it has been in the past. And so one of the first things I want to hit on here are a buyer agency agreement. So if you've ever sold your home, you've sat down with an agent, you've signed an agreement, typically called a listing agreement, and that is set the terms in place of what you expect out of your agent, how much you're going to compensate your agent, and what the really just the expectations are. And if you've ever purchased a home, you may have done that, but usually, and I imagine so, you haven't discussed what that compensation looks like. And so what's going to happen here in July is that before you are allowed to see a home, the real estate agent you are working with will be required to have this conversation with you, and you two will need to then negotiate what that buyer's agent, what your representative is going to be compensated for for selling you a home. And so that is just going to be required. So if you show up to a house to go look at it, do not be surprised if they pull out a piece of paper and try to talk to you on the trunk of their car about what it's going to cost you if you decide to buy that home. So that's really the first thing. I would say if you have that experience, I would probably be asking, hey, can we do this in a more professional setting? Can we discuss exactly what this entails? And so on and so forth. And for us here at Lincoln Select, we do what's called a buyer orientation with every single buyer we meet with. We discuss how much it's going to cost them to buy the home out of pocket, how much it's going to cost them month to month, what it looks like to write a strong winning offer, what financing details that are in play, and all of that. And so those are the things that you want to discuss with your agent to determine what the value of that agent will be for you specifically when purchasing your home. So that's the first big thing there, is that you will now have to sign an agreement before you can see anything. Second is how the agent that is representing the buyer is paid. And so this is what was being litigated here. And so what we had seen historically is the listing agent collects a commission and then pays the buyer's agent with that. And so what we're going to see here moving forward is that's no longer necessarily going to be the case. The seller is not going to be communicating to the buyer and buyer's agent what that compensation will be. And so that's one of the bigger parts of this whole litigation. And so what will happen here is you will have some sellers that will choose not to pay a buyer's agent, and the buyer then will have to pay their agent for the representation that they are receiving throughout that process. But I do imagine that many home sellers will see the value in trying to attract as many buyers as possible to their home, because that's the name of the game. The more buyers that get interested in your home, the higher the price of your home goes. And I would imagine that the price of your home is going to sell due to that interest from buyers at or above the commission being paid out to that buyer's agent. So that's something that you're going to have a conversation with your listing agent about when it comes down to that. So that's the second big part of this. Now here's, the caveat here is if you are meeting with your agent as a buyer and you sign that agreement, and let's say you say, hey, I'm willing to pay you 3% of the price of the home. And let's say a seller is willing to pay some costs associated with purchasing the home, but it doesn't make up the entire amount. You as a buyer then would be responsible to make up the difference. So let's say as a ballpark figure, it's $3,000. If the seller is willing to pay $2,000 toward your expenses to purchase that home, which could include commission, you would then have to make up the $1,000 difference at closing. It would just be a closing cost associated with purchasing your home. So those are really the two biggest things here that are at play. Again, commissions have never been set as a standard. You may have spoken to an agent who told you that, hey, like 6% is my rate. That, as an example, that is just what that agent's value is, and that is as low as they're willing to go because they know what their negotiation skills look like, and so on and so forth. And this is a pretty interesting topic. I heard this on a podcast the other day, and that is when you look at real estate agents and other professionals that earn in real estate, a brand new agent makes the same amount typically as an agent that's been in the business for 20 or 25 years. And if that were the case, maybe as an attorney, that first year attorney is making, $100 an hour, where that partner that's been in play for 20 years is making $500 or $600 an hour. And so you may start shopping around to find the agent that's going to represent you and have the most experience possible when it comes to trying to get you into the home and home of your dreams while still obtaining and achieving those goals you have, with affordability and terms and where you want to be. So if you guys have questions, and I'm sure you will, please, shoot us some messages, call us, text us. This is, complicated right now because there's not a lot of final information out there. But just let us know. We'd love to help with that. So, and guys, until next time, thanks for checking this out. Hey, thanks so much for checking out our video and watching till the end. If you're looking for more content about real estate, just simply subscribe over here to the right. And if you want more information on what your home is worth, check out sellyourhomelincoln.com to get an evaluation done, and one of our listing specialists will reach out to you to help you determine that final price. Thanks again.